Yeah, so this past month wasn't so great when it comes to my growth over on Instagram. I gained just over 700 followers, which is 50% less than any month so far this year. In this video, we're going to go over my monthly insights for April. We're going to dive into the content that I posted, the response that I got to that content, how that affected my growth, and what we can all learn from it. As with all of these insights review videos, it's not just about me being able to look back and analyze my own numbers to plan a new, more effective strategy. I'm hoping that by sharing this with you, not only can you, one, get a realistic look at how insights fluctuate over time so that maybe you can feel better about your own insights, because ultimately, these are all private, right? So you can't easily compare yourself to other people. So I'm hoping that this makes you feel better about your own growth. And then two, I feel like there's a lot that we can learn from looking at my insights and me kind of sharing with you what I've experimented with, the response that I've seen, and why I think some of these changes are happening. And then we can all take what I've learned and implement it in our strategies. Just remember, before we dive into this, and this is a reminder for myself more than anyone, these are just numbers, and these numbers do not define who you are as a creator, how good your content is, or of course not your worth as a person. And I know that should go without saying all of that, but I know sometimes it can be so easy for us to see the number of likes or our number of new followers, and we let that influence how we feel about ourselves. Sometimes engagement, reach, and followers are going to fluctuate, and that's okay. It's very normal. When you're in it for the long term, which, by the way, you need to be if you want to see real, substantial community growth, then you're going to see these ups and downs. Nobody grows perfectly forever. So the best thing to do is just take a look at these insights, see what we can learn from them, and then move on from there. So with that being said, let's take a quick tour of my insights for the month of April, and then I'm going to share 3 different reasons why I think that I saw these results. Okay, so welcome into my Instagram insights. This is just the front page. I've adjusted the date range to be from April 1st to the 26th because that's the day that I'm filming this video. Look, I thought that I could push it and wait till like the 29th or something, but I wanted to get this edited in time for y'all to see. So 26 is gonna be good enough. So we can see right off the bat that I gained 769 followers. You can see that my reach is down 7%. My accounts engaged is down almost 30%, and my total followers has just increased by 2.5%. So I gained 700-ish followers, like I said. So let's go into each of these different segments and see what we can see. Okay, so under reach, you can see that we reached 16K followers and 37K non-followers. It's interesting to me that I reached so many non-followers, but it didn't seem to like convert a whole lot to new followers in this case. This month we flip back to a more typical kind of reach structure. If you watched my last video about this, then you'll know that in March I actually got more reach from my feed posts than from my reels, which is very unusual. So go watch that if you want to like see more about how that happened. But this is more of a typical result. So I got 47K reach from reels, the majority of which was from non-followers, and then I only got 13K reach from my posts. And then, you know, stories is pretty typical. That's always going to be the smallest because mostly just your followers see that. Okay, so let's take a look at my top post. Right off the bat, we see that this graphic about why likes don't matter performed the best. That is pretty typical. Like, this doesn't surprise me at all because shareable and informational graphics always get the best reach and engagement for me, though I have seen, you know, photo posts like this also perform well. Again, in my last monthly insights review, I noticed that a photo of me paired with a kind of like helpful caption about Instagram growth was my top performing post. Like, it really got pushed up to the explore page and I got like 70 new followers from it. So I was like, this is awesome. I'm going to try to replicate that. So you see this month I posted like 3 posts like that, but they kind of underperformed. Like, you can see they didn't even get 1,000 likes, any of them. And if we dive deeper into the insights, you know, okay, 40 shares or 40 saves about, like, that's okay. For this one, 27 saves, that's all right. So anyway, they just kind of perform like meh, but I had one that did so well that I was like, okay, I'm going to kind of chase that trend and see if I can replicate it. And it just didn't work, but you know, it's all about experimentation. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that this graphic would have performed well, because it's kind of the typical sort of content that I get a lot of reach and engagement on. Okay, let's look at top reels. So none of these exactly batted it out of the park in terms of views. We've got one with 16K views, one with 10K, 9, 8, you know, that's fine. Like, those all perform like, yep, good. I would give that a thumbs up. But it's not like I had a real banger by any means. So it's always interesting to take a look at your overall reach, because ultimately the more people you reach, the more potential new followers you're going to get, and the more potential engagement you're going to get. If you have low reach, you're going to see those other two numbers are low as well. And in this case, compared to March, I had 7% less reach. However, that doesn't tell the whole story, because 7% less reach is one thing, but I gained much less followers than that, if you know what I mean. Like, the new followers is not just 7% less, it's more like 50% less. So there's more to the story, and I think that we'll find that out if we look into the accounts engaged, where you can see I got 30% less engagement. So you can see I only engaged 4,600 accounts over the past month, and 3,700 of them were already following me, and 900 people were not following me. So what this is kind of telling me is that my content was not that engaging this past month, because if we flip back over to reach, you'll see that we reached 37,000 non-followers. However, only about 1,000 of them actually engaged with my content. And if somebody is not following you yet and they see your content, if they aren't going to engage with it, they certainly aren't going to start following you. So that's where the engagement piece really becomes important, because you meet somebody new, you've got to make sure that they find your content interesting enough to bother liking it, because if they're not even going to tap the like button, they're not going to tap the follow button. So what this is kind of telling me is that even though I reached a bunch of non-followers, I wasn't able to really engage them and get them interested in what I'm sharing about. So you can see the total content interactions was 10,000. That's down 37% since last month. And this kind of gives a breakdown here. Now, I will say this engagement piece is kind of the most nebulous part of this whole growth strategy thing. Like, trying to figure out how to create content that's engaging is not as easy as just like hacks or quick tips, right? It's really understanding your audience, what they like to see, and what's going to be interesting to them. So I think that what would be most effective to like take away a learning is to kind of look at, okay, these posts were mostly photos of me, longer captions where I sort of talk about, okay, like, why do you want to grow on Instagram? This one's like, don't let your metrics define you. This one's like, you need to post for yourself as well as for the algorithm. And then this is, you know, an explainer on why likes don't matter. So those are the sort of themes that I have in mind. Also keeping in mind, obviously, it's a lot of pictures of me. Now, with that in mind, let's take a look at March so that we can compare what kind of content I made then that seems to perform so well that's different from, you know, this content. Okay, so bumping back to March, you can see that we had a lot more engagement from non-followers and 20,000 content interactions, so a lot more. Part of that is because I posted more often. We'll get into those reasons later in the video, but let's look at these top posts based on likes. Again, not that likes are the most important, but it's just how we're going to organize it right now. So we have a photo of me that this is kind of the big banger post that I based all of those other posts in April on. So it's just like a photo slideshow of me talking about like being consistent on Instagram. This next one was also a photo slideshow of me talking about how likes aren't the most important metric. Then this was a graphic that, you know, performed quite well, content calendar for growth. This one really hit it off with the saves, as you can see. So likes don't tell the full story, as I was saying. And then we've got all the new features, and then another photo of me. This one did not perform as well. So it's interesting because this photo slideshow thing, like, that is pretty consistent with what I did in April, but somehow these ones in March just seem to hit different for people. And then these two kind of slideshows or graphics, I can see why those perform well because they're helpful, they're informational. But anyway, there's not always a perfect little answer as to why engagement has changed. It might just be that my audience is like spending less time on Instagram this past month, which good for them, I guess. So you don't always really know, but these are the kinds of questions that you need to ask yourself to try to figure out these insights that help you develop a good growth strategy. So to wrap up this insights overview, let's take a look at total followers. Once again, you can see that I gained 769 followers, which is a lot less than if we look at last month, where I gained 1,700 followers. So I literally gained 1,000 less followers this past month. So let's talk about those 3 reasons that I think might be an explanation as to why. The first one is I just posted a lot less. Now here's the thing. In April, I went into the month with 2 different sort of mini vacations planned. One was a long weekend where my cousin came to visit me and Dan out in LA in the van. And the second was when we were going to be off the grid away from cell signal in Yosemite. So I already knew I was going to be working a little less this month. And then on top of that, I ended up getting sick. So I ended up posting less often, even though you'll remember I batched content for the entire month. So I had content for all of those days. But I had this weird feeling that like if I wasn't posting on my story, I shouldn't be posting in the feed. Like I felt like if I was not on my stories, then I was kind of like offline, and it would be weird for people to see content from me in the feed if I posted it then. So even though I had content for those days, I skipped on posting it because I was like, I'm not posting on my stories. It would be weird to post today on my feed. Tell me in the comments if you think that's weird. Like, is that a reasonable thing to think? Like, would you think anything of it if you saw a post from me in the feed but not content from me on my story? I don't know. For some reason, it feels like a weird thing to do for me, but maybe I should not do that. But the point is, I ended up having a lot of posts that ended up not going live that I've now pushed forward into May because I had time off for being sick or on vacation or whatever. So just to give you some hard numbers as a comparison, in April, like I was saying, I gained 700 followers as compared to March, where I gained 1,700 followers. In April, I posted to the feed 4 times, as you saw, and I posted 9 reels, while in March, I posted 9 feed posts altogether and 14 reels. Contrasting though to February, where I gained 1,900 followers, but I only posted on the feed 5 times, but I did post 15 reels. That kind of gives you a sense of how much less I really did post in April, and I do think that that probably explains a lot of the dip in like reach, engagement, and followers. I think not only did I post less often, but it just so happened that the stuff I did post wasn't quite as engaging as stuff I'd made in the past. The second takeaway I had is that feed posts really do matter in your strategy, even though it kind of feels like reels is the main thing. I still did post a decent number of reels. Like I said, I posted 9 reels so far this month, which is only 5 less than March, but I posted a third as many feed posts, and that seems to have really had an impact on my reach. Last month, I had 47,000 reach with my feed content and 38,000 reach with my reels, whereas this month I had 52,000 reach with my reels and 28K with my feed. But I will say I am left a little bit confused about, like I tried this similar kind of post that really seemed to pop off for me in March, and it just didn't do as well this month. So, I don't know, wrong place, wrong time. Maybe the colors in that other photo connected with people more. Like, there could be all kinds of reasons, which is why you just have to keep trying new things and see what works. And my third reason why I think maybe I didn't have as much engagement and all that this month is I was less active on stories too. And I know there's not a direct correlation between posting on stories and getting new followers because people don't really find you through your stories. But I do think that posting more often on stories and getting in front of your followers and kind of staying front of mind for them helps them remember you and see you in the feed and want to engage with you in the feed too. And I think I just didn't have the time between work being busy, vacation, being sick, to really like engage with my community and be there and have conversations. And I think doing that is going to really help your engagement and your reach as well. So that is an overview, a snapshot of my insights for April. I hope this video reminds you that not every month is going to be perfect. You're going to see fluctuations up and down. That's normal. That's okay. It's all about the long run. Not one month of insights defines how well your Instagram is growing. Overall, I'm really pleased with the growth that I've seen so far this year. So stay tuned because in May I am trying out a slightly different strategy as described in this video. So go watch that if you want to learn more about it. April was kind of my last month on my sort of old strategy for 2022, and now I'm trying this new one for the summer. So I'm really curious to see how my insights might change in May. I honestly think the biggest difference at this point would be me just having more time to spend time with my audience, engage with them, create more spontaneous, on the fly stuff that I think is going to be fun and kind of fresh and of the moment. So we'll see if May allows for that. It all depends. You never know what kind of challenges come up when running a business, and so sometimes you don't have the time to do what you want to do, but so it goes. As always, let me know in the comments how your past month went with Instagram growth. I'd love to hear about what your results were, if you had any specific challenges, because maybe I could make a video addressing them and helping you out. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, I hope that you're having adventures and following your dreams, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!